Hi everyone, my name is Ali and I've been a bartender for 3 years. So I chose to show you how to make the oldest cocktail known to man, the old-fashioned. Now a cocktail is something that contains 4 major components. That's going to be your sugar, water, bitters, and liquor. Now this contains all of those, so it's a perfect cocktail. I chose this cocktail because the old-fashioned is been around since the 18th century, and I just think that's fascinating that we're still using the same recipe since then. Well, most bartenders have changed it a little bit, but essentially you're still going to get the same typical drink and with a new bartender twist. It started in the 18th century and it got really modernized in the Prohibition era. And now you can go into any speakeasy, modern day speakeasy, and order this drink and you will get something resembling this. I'm going to try to make it as original as possible. This is also the recipe that I like to use. The main ingredients that you're going to need is a whiskey, typically originally used with bourbon. That's why I brought this makers right here. And then I also brought rye, which is what people started using in the 19th century. You're going to also need bitters. There are all different types of bitters. This is the bitters that they most recommend. Angostura bitters. You're also going to need sugar. Some people use sugar, water, or they just use simple syrup, which is sugar and water. And you're going to need something to garnish. Now this is an aromatic drink, so that's why we have a garnish. It's not to be muddled, which is very mistaken by most people who like to muddle a cherry and an orange. That's just putting juice inside of your old-fashioned, which we don't want to do. Now we just want to shave a piece off, pinch it, and kind of just give it an aroma. Typically you use orange for a bourbon and you use lemon for a rye. You don't even use a cherry. I don't know why people do that. So, to start this off, we are going to first get our sugar, and we're going to just get 1 cube. And put it in our glass, and then we're going to add just a little splash of water. And we'll muddle this. It muddles really easily. You can kind of just stir it around. Now, Sean Thomas from the show The Mix, he uses this, but he also suggests simple syrup. If you're in a faster bar, it's a lot easier to just throw simple syrup in there. You don't have to muddle it. But essentially they're the same thing. He also recommends that you do 2 large things of bitters, 2 large dashes of bitters. I do 4 small dashes of bitters, and Difford's Guide uses 2 dashes of this bitters and then 2 dashes of orange bitters. So like I said, a lot of bartenders change the recipe. It really is just what you think is better. This is, again, just to give it this aroma. Next, you're going to stir again. And then the other thing that I like to do in the bar, because since lately it's been super, super hot, I actually mix it in my tin with ice so that it gets really cold, and then I strain it over these giant ice cubes. But you don't want to dilute it too much. So originally they don't want to dilute it too much, and they just do it with the big ice cube. So I'm going to do it original style. We're going to do 2 ounces of bourbon or rye. Difford's Guide also does half and half, which is kind of weird, but kind of interesting. Bourbon is more sweet. We're going to do rye today. And just 2 ounces. we're going to stir. Now originally this drink was shaken, and that's back in 1862 from the Bartender's Guide from Jerry Thomas, the very first bartender guide ever made in 1862 had you shake it. Now in modern times we decided that shaking it dilutes the whiskey way too much, so now we stir. And then you have your ice cube. Makes it a lot bigger, right? And then you have your garnish, which normally they use orange for bourbon, so we're going to use the lemon today, which I actually have never done a rye version. You just shave it. You pinch this, kind of ring it around the glass, and then you drop it in the spoon. And then you drink it, but I don't drink whiskey. I'm gonna smell it. So that is how you make an old fashioned. It also was originally called a whiskey cocktail. So the name cocktail with the sugar and the water and the bitters and the liquor, that's why they called it a whiskey cocktail, because it's made with whiskey. They actually have a lot of old fashions now, and they're made with other liquors according to Difford's Guide. But I still think that it's best to just go with the original whiskey cocktail. So if you haven't tried it, go out to your local bartender and order one, because it is delicious. And that is all I have to say. Cheers. Who wants to try it?
What you should have done is told us that you're going to end with the word